Welcome in. It is a very special Wednesday here in the Fantasy Sanctuary. We are underway in our first FFPC stream of the year, a contest that I came very close to winning 2 years ago when I finished 8th. Didn't quite have enough to take it all down. Walked away feeling quite sad about it. But as you can see, the draft's happening. We're going to talk lots about this Superflex strategy and how we can maximize our chance of winning in it. But as you can see, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Bijan Robinson, all going off the board. And when it comes to us, it looks like we're going to be talking about kind of a decision between the likes of Jamar Chase, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrows, or even Brock Bowers, with this being that Superflex tight end premium. I love this format. It opens up so many different ways to build because it's so different to kind of traditional best ball, where so much of our conversation is dominated by talk about running backs, talk about how many wide receivers we need. Superflex tight end premium just removes so much of that and opens up so many more builds, so many different ways that we can look to try and gain an edge and differentiate from the field. When we get through to that final round, and we'll talk more about that soon, the choices are so different. So off the board goes Jalen Hurts. At the top of ADP right now, you're looking at Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Brock Bowers. I don't know, man. Like, does Joe Burrow have enough to be as much of a differentiator as Jamar Chase? Maybe. Or maybe I'm just crazy. But in this tight end premium format, I think that having an elite tight end like Brock Bowers can absolutely make a huge difference. We saw what he did last year with incredibly incompetent quarterback play. He went out there, set the rookie records for all kinds of things, and it could have been better. It really could have been substantially better. And now he's got Geno Smith. Now he's got Ashton Genty, who can help keep the offense on schedule, help keep moving the ball. And in turn, that can bring more layup receptions to Brock Bowers. So, yeah, very high on Brock Bowers. Interested to see where we go with this one. In terms of this contest, I've already done one team last week and walked away with a very different build. I had the 102 in that one, so ended up taking Josh Allen there. The first team went to Lamar. Otherwise, I would have been there. As Tyler says, FFPC is famously TEP. Yes, sir. And, it's always worth remembering. And what we look for when we're talking about tight end premium players, you've really got to make sure that you're focusing on what the tight end premium gets you. Like, we see tight ends later on pushed up the board. And there's guys there who they're not going to get a huge amount of receptions. Yes, they've got touchdown upside. That's fine. That's one thing. But we want guys who can get volume. And if you're telling me that I can get a guy who can get 110, 120, 130 receptions in a year, that's in tight end premium where you can separate substantially. As you can see on the back half of the board, things kind of playing out not too crazily. I mean, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of Saquon Barkley is a little bit unexpected for some folks, but like the guys around here on FFPC, they like their running backs, so we should expect to see a good amount of running backs taken early. Excuse me. So this contest, it's 16,000 teams altogether, closer to 17,000. Maximum of 150 entries at $35 an entry. You will be looking at $5,200 if you want to max enter it, which means you'd essentially have to come second in this contest to make any kind of profit on it. First place, 100,000, second place, 10 grand. So it isn't necessarily an easy one to be maximizing profit straight from the get-go, but there's plenty of decent ways to get your money back along the way. So the number one thing that I love about FFPC is how rake-friendly the contests are. If you even make it into the playoff rounds, then just for making it there, even if you go out at that point, you're talking about getting either $100 in cash in return for this 35 entry, or you're looking at one free entry into the $125 contest. So there's a lot of good perks to FFPC, and I'll go through a bit more of that in a minute when we kind of get past this. So since we went round the turn, Bo Nix, Christian McCaffrey for a double running back start for the Saquon Barkley drafters, Patrick Mahomes with Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Justin Jefferson, Trey McBride. The Joe Burrow team on the clock at the minute. I know that we've got EPB with us. Very much appreciate him being here tonight. And do let us know if you're in the draft and watching along. It's going to be very interesting to see him play out. And let us know if you want more of these. I know myself and Tyler were talking with John Daigle, who wanted to come on and do one of the single quarterback drafts. We'll be looking into that and try to figure out a date for July or August at some point. So the year where I came sixth in this contest, or eighth even, again, just absolutely giving myself too much credit there. One of the tactics that I felt worked really well for me that year was not getting left behind too far at any one position. So here I've got my elite tight end in Brock Bowers, but let's go ahead and throw in Malik Neighbors as well. These are two guys that are going to give me access to two potential late round stacks as well, which definitely feels worthwhile. We don't need to go crazy big stacks when we're talking about these kind of contests where the finals are smaller than a lot of the ones that we'd be looking at. You know, gone days of talking about like DraftKings where you're looking at 1,000-person final. This one, basically, you get through to the final, and it's just, where have I got it now? 78 different teams that you're looking to go up against. So we can afford not to need to go quite as out there on some of the stacks. And if you make the final, you're talking $500 minimum. So 14x your entry, which, you know, it's kind of fine. If you made the second round of the playoffs, then you kind of guaranteed to have at least $300 cash, or you could take three free entries into 125, or, you know, it kind of goes up from there. So there's a lot of stuff that makes it worthwhile just playing the long game on FFPC. Like for a few years now, I've been bouncing between different contests. Obviously last year had a really nice year in the FFPC 350 redraft, had a very successful team there that ended up walking away with a nice 4-figure sum. But it's not enough, is it? In terms of how to approach this contest, I think that it's probably one of the least consistent contests year to year for the reasons I mentioned before. There's so many different ways to build. You can have years where the quarterbacks can be more important, years where the tight ends can be more important, years where the running backs more important. So last year was a big year for 3 QB teams. They were slightly more successful than 4 QB teams, despite the fact that, you know, QB on the whole was a bit miserable in places. The ideal roster construction for running back was 5 to 6 running backs, wide receiver 7, 8, or 10. 7%. 7 teams with 7 wide receivers were the ones that ended up on the top 2 percentile outcomes most often. So, you know, learning when to stop is always a choice when it comes to the wide receiver position, and that's something which I've dealt with at times. Being a 0 RB bro at heart, it can be a little bit difficult to stop, but here in this format, it definitely helps. And then tight end, 4 tight end builds were optimal last year with 9.7% win rate, up from like 8.3% as the average. So 2 picks away in terms of what's sitting at ADP. We've got Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, AJ Brown, Josh Jacobs, Ladd McConkey, and Caleb Williams. Kyler Murray goes off the board to the 2 running back team out of the 4 spot. And it kind of comes down to this team. If this team ahead of us takes Baker Mayfield, then I might consider pushing things another round on quarterback. If not, then Baker Mayfield would feel like fine QB1 here. Maybe he ran a little pure last year. Maybe there's a chance that we see some regression this year, and it's not as easy for him with a new a new offensive coordinator for like the 15th time. So it definitely feels like it's about the 15th time for Baker Mayfield at this point. Otherwise, I mean, I talked about not wanting to get left behind. The options at running back would be Josh Jacobs at ADP. Otherwise, you start falling down to Kyron Williams, Bucky Irving. I don't mind those. Neither of them feel particularly like bad picks. But Baker Mayfield makes it to us. I'm going to just lock him in now as QB1. So through 3 rounds, Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, and Baker Mayfield, which leaves us kind of working along nicely. Rory saying smart room, we didn't let Gibbs slide to the 5th. I feel obliged to have to explain this one because otherwise people are just going to think we're all stupid. But at the weekend, the very first Fantasy Sanctuary Social, we ran a draft where nobody was allowed phones, nobody was allowed cheat sheets, nobody was allowed anything. And we were very much going as fast as possible. That was the only rule, was that you had to get your picks in quickly. And if you didn't get it in quickly, people were going to start heckling you. And it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. Of course, Jameer Gibbs did slip to the 5th. I think Puka Nacua fell quite far as well. I definitely remember seeing DK Metcalf available in the 8th round. There was a lot going on. Drinks may have been had, but yeah, feels a little more simpler being here with FFPC right in front of us. So yeah, if you haven't played an FFPC before, you can use the promo code TFS when you sign up, get you $25 off your first entry. The Superflex, that's my favorite contest. It's one which, you know, has a lot going for it, but also these are fun ones to co-draft. I've co-drafted a bunch of these over the last couple of years with Colin Kelly of Rotoviz, with various people from our Discord. Quite often I like to give these entries away as prizes because then you get to sit and strategize with different people. And the strategy in Superflex just feels so much more varied than in regular best ball. And I know FFPC, well, I know Superflex has its haters, but I'm not one of them. Yeah, generally what I'd be looking for in these rooms is to walk away with 3 QBs, 4 tight ends, and then balancing the kind of running back tight ends for the rest of them. Jordan MC, is RB any more valuable here than on DraftKings? It feels like it's not PPR when I'm in some of these rooms. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like, there's a bit of a, and let's say this with no ill will whatsoever, but there's definitely a bit of a boomer mentality to the running back position sometimes on FFPC. They get dragged up much higher. I mean, just look at the team out of the 11 spot. 4 RBs to start the draft off, like the most robust of robust, highest T starts. And when you're in a super flex, like that's one which is probably going to be, I mean, that's going to cause you some headaches later on. But what if the running backs do matter? I'll make this selection on this go around and then start talking about like how the running back heavy builds have done over here in the Superflex contest. So coming up 2 picks away from ours, it's a little bit of a QB tier here. You got Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Drake May, Chase Brown, CJ Stroud. So plenty to choose from. So back on the clock, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Drake May. I mean, there's plenty of fun there. There's not really a running back that I'd be desperate to have. So even though I've talked about not wanting to get left behind, particularly at a position, I think that there's enough in the next tier of running backs that I'd be okay with that. And let's go with Justin Herbert. I'm not quite there on Jared Goff. Going to be playing more outside, different offensive coordinator. I think things set up a little bit nicer for Justin Herbert, but maybe I'm just perennially hoping that we see Justin Herbert turn into the guy, the prince that was promised. So in this contest, having your RB4 before round 5 in 2024, based on a win rate expectation of 8.3%, it gave you a 15% win rate last year, so it absolutely smashed. The year before, I've got to caveat that these were very small sample sizes. There were only like 25, 26 teams doing it. The year before, 7%. The year before that, 4%. And the year before that, 0%. So mixed bag, really. But just going back to Jordan's original question, is RB any more valuable here than on DraftKings? It's more like, because of a platform and because people like to push running backs up, and because people are much more comfortable taking them early, it becomes that kind of positional scarcity. It's like the opposite of Underdog, where we saw so many wide receiver avalanches, which would then force you into making decisions. So while zero RB is perfectly viable here, you've got to be willing to accept that you're going to have to make sacrifices. You're going to have to possibly start taking those running backs a little bit earlier. On real time. Appreciate everybody hanging out tonight. I know most people are on the Dog platform or even on DK, but FFPC, let's show some love. Hit the like button down below. On real time, hi TAK, highly tripping. You really don't have to do that because you don't have to start free wide receivers. It's overcompensating from people that don't know ball. Yeah, so in terms of the roster requirements for this one, let me just pull those up and give you guys everything. So it is, obviously, you got your quarterback and then your Superflex, which QB, running back, wide receiver, or tight end, as well as 2 flex, which can be running back, wide receiver, or tight end. So the starting lineup is 1 QB, 2 RB, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end. So you can make an argument that you can start 4 flex every single week. It just means that you're having to hit running backs so often and so well each week that those running backs are going to pay off, and you're going to have to hit the late rounds kind of quarterback gold. And there's some late round quarterbacks I like this year. Guys like Bryce Young feels undervalued. Cam Ward, someone myself and Tyler consistently are taking when we get the chance, and you can obviously stack these guys late. I mean, in terms of other quarterbacks, Tua feels undervalued slightly. I mean, I obviously like Geno Smith this year as well. So there will be opportunities for the teams out of the 10 and the 11 spot. It's just not something I'd be willing to do. But then I am more of a zero hero RB drafter typically. 1 pick away, and it's still Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, JJ McCarthy, Devontae Adams, Tyler's boy, Matthew Stafford, Michael Penix, Omarion Hampton, Mike Evans, and Sam Laporta. Lots of interesting names. Nobody kind of really stands out. Like, if you're with us in the chat, let us know who you'd be taking there, given that we've got 2 quarterbacks in Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, we've got Malik Neighbors, and we've got Brock Powers. Would you be going back to the well on quarterback before quarterback dries up? Or would you be looking at a guy like Omarion Hampton, Mike Evans, Sam Laporta, somebody I've talked about a lot this offseason, and then all the way down to like Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon? There's plenty of interesting options. The team before us times out and takes Jordan Love. I think we're going to see a good QB run here. You know, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 teams with only 1 QB, 1 team with 0 QBs. But I'm comfortable saying that Baker Mayfield and Justin Herbert have to live up. So rather than taking them, and because it is that tight end premium, and because I can start a second one into flex, I'm going to draft my boy Sam Laporta. Even though I'm a little cool on Jared Goff, I think Sam Laporta is going to run hot. We saw his splits from week 8 onwards last year, once he was healthy, were so much nicer. It's a really interesting ADP value to me to be getting Sam Laporta in round 5 as the tight end 4 here. Jordan saying he got to the final DraftKings last year with 0 RB. Yeah, I mean, it was a rough time for 0 RB throughout the season. Like, you know, the advance rate, people were in tears if you were really just trying to advance a high number. But if you could slip through those 0 RB teams towards the finals, like, that was huge leverage, because let's not forget, it was Jamar Chase who was on most of the winning teams rather than it being Saquon Barkley. So I'm not against 0 RB in any way this year. I think it's becoming quite popular to say it's a really good year for it, but the rookie running back class makes it so interesting. So through 5 rounds, caught of away to a draft, Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, Sam Laporta, Baker Mayfield, and Justin Herbert. Feeling okay? The next one of these drafts we'll be looking to do will be Sunday, the 6th of July. Obviously, holiday weekend for our American friends, but be same time slot. Benefit of them FFPCs, you can already go and reserve yourself a spot in that league. I'm sat waiting in that one. And then we will also be sorting out some of these 1-2-5 drafts, which would be a lot of fun. I think that it's a bit more of the traditional best ball feel. Obviously, you've got the tight end premium, which changes quite a bit, but I did a bunch of those with Colm a couple of years ago. Last year, not so much, but I enjoy those. Yeah, this is it, techers. Just FFPC. Like when they told me they were not long for the UK World, I chucked in what was left and ended up maxing the $2 150. I think I'm down to 4 drafts left, and honestly, I think at one point I was doing 90 different slow drafts at the same time. That wasn't something I particularly enjoyed, and it isn't something I'd love to do again. But man, give me a few weeks and I'll absolutely be missing it. And yeah, shout out to the guys from Best Ball Europe and their Discord. The amount of stuff that Zio is putting together, the amount of different drafts. I know he's got some high rollers ones as well. I think they're trying to make the best of it. Put some pressure on the Fantasy Game Day guys. Tweet them, drop into their DMs and tell them that you want them to start doing best ball. They talked about developing a product, but I think that they had a lot of things to figure out with their DFS platform as well. Ultimately, we won't see Underdog here anytime soon. That's a business decision on their part. But I've talked to them about, and they just have no plans within at least the next 2 or 3 years. As sad as that is for all of us, I mean, I can understand it. You've seen how Underdog are kind of changing slightly. They're leaning heavily into the pick'em stuff. So we are back on the clock. Bryce Young, Kenneth Walker, DJ Moore, Xavier Worthy, Chuba Hubbard. At quarterback, it's starting to get a little bit murky, but I'm not sure I really want to go down the quarterback room. Bryce Young would be the pick if we do this. What are we saying? Would Bryce Young be the good pick? Let's take Bryce Young, and hopefully then maybe we can be done at 4 quarterbacks. And what you will see is a lot of backup quarterbacks going in this one. I do feel like I'm a little behind the room on the running back position now. That's where I'm sitting tonight, sitting at home in sunny Gateshead. Sweltering hot evening in my kitchen. But yes, FFPC. I've been playing FFPC over here in the UK for 4-5 years now. Let's say I've won 4-figure amounts each of the last 2 years and withdrew them both through this competition and through the free $50 redraft contest. The app's available on the App Store. It is one of those situations where if you win a decent amount, you will have to just drop them a message because of the American tax laws. You have to sign basically a tax waiver form saying that you're from the UK and you shouldn't be paying tax on winnings, because unlike America, over here, we do not pay taxes on winnings. But yeah, they're always good people. They've always helped me out. They're nice people, and it's always gone smoothly. I mean, Colm Kelly wrote of his own. Him, Sean, and Drico, I think they won 50 grand between the 3 of them a few years back, and they had no problems. You know, Colm had no problems withdrawing that, and he's been playing there for longer than I have. But fingers crossed this one doesn't disappear. If this one disappears, then I don't know. I can't become a Dynasty bro. It's nah, not Dynasty. Definitely not IDP. Redraft. Ugh. Yeah, Paul's saying he's also had no problems. So Tackers, use the code TFS20 TFS when you sign up, and you get $25 off your first draft of 35 or more. And then you can make sure you're in here for the next one. We do a V's on the 6th of July, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. UK. Sunday evening drafts. Like, that feels civilized. Sunday evening Superflexes. So I was kind of hoping Ted McMillan might make it back around the corner. I thought if I could get him as my wide receiver too, I'd be quite happy there. Doesn't make it back. We've got Kenneth Walker, Chuba Hubbard, Travis Kelce, Sam Darnold, Travis Hunter going off the board since our last pick. So now I am behind. I'm behind at wide receiver and I'm behind at running back. But with the 2 tight ends and the 3 quarterbacks, I'm just going to absolutely smash running backs and wide receiver. Yes, sir. The Fantasy Sanctuary, that stands for TFS. And absolutely, the DFS, the Dynasty stuff's worth checking out as well, because they auction off they auction off Dynasty leagues that people don't want, Dynasty teams that people abandon, and you can get Dynasty rosters from like $1 that, you know, these are teams worth way more, and you pay the first year however much is judged on the site. Basically, it's just a notice board full of teams that are available at a certain price, and obviously cheaper they are, the more work they need. But you can make a good amount of money by just flipping them the next year. I know a few people who've done that. So we're 1 pick away. As mentioned, little behind the 8 ball on both running back and wide receiver here. But I'm okay with that, because I'm saying one of my flex spots is going to have to be filled by Sam Laporta every week. And the players available are Xavier Worthy, Cam Ward, Travion Henderson, James Conner, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, Jameson Williams, Quinshon Judkins, Aaron Rodgers, George Pickens. Jameson Williams, obviously player who put a video out on the YouTube Shorts today talking about how he's one of 4 players I'm fading a little bit. Just feels like the difference in price between him and Amon-Ra St. Brown, it just feels a little too tight for me. Maybe here in this format where you've got a little bit more space between them, he's a bit more palatable. But I'm going Devonta Smith as my second wide receiver. I think that the Slim Reaper is consistently one of those players who outperforms expectations. Obviously, Jalen Hurts throwing the ball last year wasn't as good as we'd hoped. Jalen Hurts just constantly is going to be that threat around the goal line, but I'm okay with that. Like, if you're going to fade Saquon Barkley this year and say Saquon Barkley had too many touches last year, he went over 400 touches, went over 1,500 rushing yards, and the history of guys who do that doesn't tend to be fantastic. But if we're going to take that mindset, then we should be going all in on guys like AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Like, I know Will Shipley is a very popular late round dart for a running back, and I've got no problem with Will Shipley either. But what's more likely? If Saquon Barkley gets hurt, the running game struggles under Will Shipley, and they end up signing a veteran, or we get AJ Brown, Devonta Smith balling out. Yep. So you just go TFS. TFS is the promo code, and it should confirm that for you. And if not, let me double check, and I will make sure that that's absolutely right. But yep, promo code TFS. And what I should have done was put some new screens with that slapped all over it. Good evening, Rich. Fresh off recording his own show this evening, which will be out tomorrow, Friday, depending on how quick yours truly can get it turned around with a bit of glitter on it. But Rich has got Dynasty buys and sells coming later in the week with the great Hot Seat Mags, who joined us in Manchester for our Fantasy Sanctuary social meetup, and a good time is definitely had. Yes, sir. I mean, look, it's not as like full T as Team 11, but it's a different build, and that's what I love about this contest. Every single contest, you feel like you walk away with a very different build to something else that you've built previously. And that's why I definitely want to get some guests on this show and do some streams with people drafted in this contest as well, because everybody approaches Superflex differently. And if we can get some different mindsets on, then it could be a lot of fun. So 2 picks away, 1 pick away even. Evan Ingram going off the board, Quinshon Judkins, Aaron Rodgers, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Caleb Johnson, Johnny Smith, Mark Andrews, Jordan Addison. Jacoby Myers goes before us. I'm going to pull a little bit of... I said I didn't want to get left behind at any position, but right now I don't feel strong enough about my wide receiver room. And even though the parity between running back and wide receiver here is even, I'm going to take Jordan Addison, and I'm just going to say that we'll figure running back out, because over the next few rounds, we've got Quinshon Judkins, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Caleb Johnson. We've got Tony Pollard, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Tyler Warren, Jalen Warren, Cam Scatterbo, Javonte Williams. There's enough there that I'll be fine. Let's not start this game, Mr. Southerner. So yes, through 8 rounds, Brett Bowers, Malik Neighbors, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, Sam Laporta, Bryce Young, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison. How are we doing? People feel like I've messed this team up or feeling good about it? If you are in the draft with us, where is team out of the 8 spot, EPB, Joe Burrow, Devon Achan, T. Higgins for that stack, Garrett Wilson, Alvin Kamara, Tua stacked with Devon Achan, Jalen Waddle in the 7th. Love that value. Jalen Waddle would have been the pick for me if I didn't go Devonta Smith. And then Evan Ingram. I'm not as high as a lot of people on Evan Ingram this year. I kind of think, I think that what he gives you after the catch just isn't overly interesting. But I think that taking Evan Ingram there is a completely fine pick, because if you don't hit tight end too soon, then it can get real messy. And Evan Ingram, whilst I might grief what he can get after the catch, he does earn targets at a high rate, so I'm good with that. Yeah, on real time saying, highest T draft of all time because no RBs for 8 rounds. That's fair. Maybe I was just feeling a little too cautious about my lack of wide receivers at this point. So in terms of how the draft's playing out, obviously we talked about structures a little bit, but player take wise, not seeing anything too crazy in terms of players being yanked massively up ahead of ADP. RJ Harvey in the 7th round now, going behind the likes of Omarion Hampton, behind the likes of Kenneth Walker, Chuba Hubbard. He's definitely fallen a bit over here. Be interested to see how high J.K. Dobbins goes. Last night I was on the DFS Army channel with Fantasy Fling, and we talked through that. He's a Broncos fan, and he was saying he just really was struggling to decide how to deal with the Broncos running backs, taking J.K. Dobbins simply because he was the cheaper of the two. So a few picks away. Obviously 2 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks, and 3 wide receivers. So if a running back falls to us in this range who sits nicely, then I'd be fine with it. Otherwise, it's probably going to be a wide receiver again. So the guys we're looking at: Jonnu Smith, Mark Andrews, David Njoku, Anthony Richardson, Jerry Jeudy, Isaiah Pacheco, Juwan Jennings, Rome Odunze, Chris Olave. It's fine. Nothing kind of stands out as a absolute smash pick in this range. Part of me wishes that I had pushed Bryce Young at that point, because you can see that turn. The cliff edge at quarterback came for it, and I think maybe somebody would have taken him, but I think I'd possibly be a little bit happier if I had another wide receiver or running back in that range. So running backs, It's Brian Robinson. It's Jalen Warren, Cam Scadabo, Javonte Williams. I don't know, man. Not really loving that one too much. In terms of wide receivers, like this is a nice tight end range. Johnny Smith, Mark Andrews, David Njoku, all sitting there, but I just can't bring myself to select another tight end in this range. Juwan Jennings, Roma Dunze, Chris Olave, Debo, Khalil Shakir, Ricky Pierce, or Stephon Diggs. Let's take Juwan Jennings. A little bit twitchy about the fact that I've got very little stacked at this point, but we can figure that out. Rich saying, with the Superflex and Titan Premium, do you find it's more likely to get unique approach builds from people compared to a UD DK draft? Yeah, I kind of touched on this a little bit, but I think that it's so different draft to draft. I mean, look at this draft in here. There are very few teams who look similar to each other. We've all kind of got different areas that we've got weaknesses or strengths. The team out of a one spot, no tight end through 10 rounds, 9 rounds even. The team at the 5 spot, also no tight end there. Those are teams that look quite balanced and look nice. The team at the 11 spot is obviously doing their own thing. Who would you have gone with, man? I just there wasn't a running back there that I could have taken with good conscience. So yeah, I think it's very much one where it's kind of hard to walk away with a portfolio of teams that all look similar. Like I know my guy Colm will walk away from a lot of these with teams where he'll go double elite tight end or earlier than I did it here, like looking at Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, if you can get that, or we'll be looking at really pushing wide receiver to dominate, like having 4-5 through the first few rounds, and Colm will push quarterback to a point that I'm not always comfortable. Like some of the drafts we've done together, I start getting twitchy and just getting a bit annoyed that we're pushing quarterback too far, because then you can end up with guys like Justin Fields last year as your QB2, and before you know it, you're several weeks into the season and they've been benched, and the other guys that you've taken for late season contingency, like Michael Penix, are weeks away from starting. So I do like to have a quarterback through the first 3 or 4 rounds of a draft. It's not a position I feel comfortable pushing too far, but it's definitely one of the beauties of this. But maybe there's no right way or wrong way to do this. You're just looking for different ways of putting those players together in different combinations. Well, I'm going to agree to disagree, hopefully. But it's also just more about the roster construction that I'm looking for. Like I want to make sure I've got a good wide receiver room, because I feel like the wide receivers in Superflex become far less intriguing as we go. We are a couple of picks away. Anthony Richardson, Tyler Warren, Jalen Warren, Khalil Shakir, Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams goes off the board, and then there's a guy I've got my eye on, whose name I don't want to mention. Najee Harris is all sitting there, but I'm going to take Jordan Mason. Now, even though I don't have the team stack or anything, I can just get a little bit of Vikings correlation with Jordan Mason and Jordan Addison on the same team. Love the fit, love the fact that the Vikings had barely any draft capital, and they took their 5th round pick and sent it to the Niners to get Jordan Mason. And that was what they wanted to do, rather than run the crapshoot of the draft and try and figure out which running backs might fall to them. They said, Jordan Mason runs the scheme we want to run. Jordan Mason could be a good goal line back. Yes, Jordan Mason isn't going to give you huge pass catching upside, but Aaron Jones is a pretty good pass catcher. So I think they're fine with that. I think that tandem can work nicely. And Jordan Mason, maybe maybe isn't the ideal RB1, but I'm interested to see how this plays out. I mean, look, the running back position right now, there's a glut of players who I'd still be willing to have as my RB2, with Jalen Warren, Tyron Tracy, Najee Harris, even Travis Etienne, Zach Charbonnet, Baishal Tutin, Ramondre Stevenson. There's plenty of guys coming up in the next couple of rounds that feel like running backs will work for this roster. So through 10 rounds in this Superflex tight end premium contest, Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, Sam Laporta, Bryce Young, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, and Jordan Mason. A lot of J's. A lot of J's indeed. Let me know how I'm doing. And if you're after more best ball content, do remember tomorrow, Thursday, the Typhel Tower will be live. I'm not sure if Tyler, if you're still in the chat, let people know which channel you're on this week. And then on Friday, I will be hanging out with the good people of the FanSpeak Network over on their channel. I can't remember the time off my head, but I'm sure I can find that. So Zach Charbonnet and Tyron Tracy both go off the board. There we go. Tyler's back. Tyler, which channel are you streaming on tomorrow? A little disappointed that both Tracy and Charbonnet went off the board there, but it could be worse. There's still plenty of interesting guys. I mean, Najee Harris is still on the board here. You wouldn't expect that normally on most platforms. So yeah, I'll be on FanSpeak Network drafting the Best Ball Mania with them at 4 p.m. on Friday. So if you're looking for a little happy hour hangout, that's where we'll be this week. Tight ends starting to go off the board. Tyler Warren, Jake Ferguson, Colston Loveland, Dallas Goedert. We'll come back to those rookie tight ends in a minute. What are we saying? One pick away. Team in front of us has 2 running backs already, so they could take a running back here. If I was them, I'd probably be looking at the tight end position. Josh Downs is also on the board, who's very interested. Michael Pittman, Baishal Tutin, Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren goes off the board. Like, look, I know it's a 0 RB, bro. I'm supposed to hate Najee Harris, but man, like, Najee Harris in the 11th round feels completely good. Good evening. Is that the latest show going on tonight? Let us know what time that one is. Yeah, man. Look, FFPC is always fun. Like, I think it gets a bad reputation because its interface looks a bit like CFAX. That's not something which is probably going to translate over the pond, but like, it kind of looks like a 1995 website in some regards, like the ones you built on, what was it like GeoCities or something, where you're just typing in the HTML codes for marquees and stuff. But the platform's fantastic. The contest selection's fantastic. If it could give me a $10 or $20 contest, or even a smaller one, which, you know, wasn't open to the kind of 150 max entries, then that'd be fantastic. Jordan saying I'm in the 2. Jordan. Okay. I'll let you off, Ben, Jordan. I mean, that team is cooking. Lamar stacked with Zay Flowers, Aaron Rodgers with Caleb Johnson, CJ Stroud in there as well. Like, that's a fun team. I'm not going to get too upset about that one. So yeah, so going back to the rookie tight ends, like, I just feel like we're at a point where the tight end position has changed so much over the last few years. Like, remember when people would just say all the time, don't draft rookie tight ends? And it kind of came from a good place, because between 2000 and 2022, there were 25 tight ends taken in round 1. 5 of them taken in the top 10 in that period. Only one of the guys taken in the top 10 went on to finish as a top 12 tight end in PPR, and that was Kyle Pitts, which feels a little bit crazy when you look back on it. You go back to just expanding on the whole group of round 1 tight ends from that period, and only 3 gave us top 12 total points finishes. It was Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, and Jeremy Shockley in 2002. Now, I'm not afraid to say that that was before my time watching the NFL, Jeremy Shockley. But yeah, like all of that, it was a poor time. And it was difficult to take rookie tight ends. But then for the last 2 years, what Sam Laporta and Brock Bowers have done have kind of shown, I think, that the tight end position, their players coming out of college and being more ready to play. And I think that this is players being utilized better by coaching staff as well. So I'm going to keep digging into this and possibly put out something in the next few days about it. Back on the clock, Russell Wilson, Tyler Shook, Jackson Dart, Byshal Tootin, Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney, Mondre, Keon Coleman, J.K. Dobbins. Like, I don't mind the idea of Michael Pittman here, but let's not leave ourselves too far behind at running back. We could take Byshal Tootin and give ourselves an upside swing to kind of pair with Harris and Mason, who I think are probably more safer bets. Yeah, I think it's a format where you can kind of recover from it a little easier than on some of the single QB stuff. Rich saying first round tight ends are the lowest percent of signing a second contract with their team of any position over the past 25 years. Yeah, absolutely. Like, look, I'm not disputing that. There's been some absolute failures. You look at guys like Evan Ingram. Didn't work out for him with the Giants, but went on to have a fine career. Kyle Pitts is he going to sign another contract with the Falcons? I highly doubt it. Be interested to see what kind of contract he gets anywhere at all. And then you look at some of the other first-round tight ends, and there's definitely guys who just flopped completely. But maybe we're at a point where this is the dawning of a new era, and the guys who are coming in are worth it. Like, I look at Colson Loveland, and I think that if he didn't have the shoulder injury, it would be very easy to get excited about him. Now, obviously, that shoulder injury is something which we've known about for months. It's a 6-month recovery from a surgery, so it's not a surprise to anybody. But if he was out there, if we were seeing the highlight reel plays, then, of course, that would be pushing him up maybe in intrigue. And also Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren was somebody I know Rich had his doubts about in terms of like play style and bits like that. But every single report out of Colts camp is that he's catching absolutely everything and he looks fantastic. Now, I know the Colts have been completely starved of tight ends. People have wanted to make some of these terrible, terrible back-end roster guys a thing in Indy for quite a while. So maybe there's a little bit of just seeing an actual grown-up in the room, which is maybe influencing things a little. But I think that if Daniel Jones is starting, I want to have exposure to the Colts pass catchers. And everybody's talking about Josh Downs. Everybody is talking about Michael Pittman potentially having a bounce back. But Tyler Warren, with really strong draft capital, still is going a little bit under the radar. One pick from us. Russell Wilson, Tyler Shook, Jackson Dart, Keon Coleman, J.K. Dobbins, Jaden Higgins, Trey Benson, Austin Eckler, Rashid Shaheed, Rashad White, Luther Burden. So I'm not desperate for a third quarterback. I will be taking more tight ends, but I think we can possibly push that on a little bit more just yet. There's a few guys who are still quite interesting. So then you start saying, okay, well, wide receiver, Keon Coleman, Jaden Higgins, guys who go kind of 40, 50 picks earlier in single QB best ball. Rashid Shaheed would definitely be an upside play. Luther Burden, I'm not so much interested in because of soft tissue injury. So, yeah, I think the play here feels like just building out the running back room a little bit more. So the options would be J.K. Dobbins, Trey Benson, Rashad White, or Ray Davis. I'm going to take Rashad White, stack him with Bucky, stack him with Baker. I don't think we're going to see Rashad White disappear from this backfield. I think we're going to see Rashad White continue to do what he does well, which is catching the ball. And let's not downplay the fact that like the Bucs with a good offensive line last year, as opposed to a really poor one the year before that had been decimated through injury. Like Rashad White went out and set career highs in efficiency metrics. Now he wasn't suddenly Derrick Henry by any amount, but like he was a semi-respectable running back. Like I don't feel the need to worry about him. And I love Bucky. I think that he was fantastic last year. He was on my team that did me very well over here on the FFPC 350 championship. But Rashad White was averaging 4.3 yards per attempt. He was by far his best success rate as well. So I'm okay saying that he sticks around and continues to have a nice role. Don't forget about Kittle. If tight end is talented and is second target in the offense for shine, it's about need, not about age. Yeah, to an extent, but like even rookies who had strong target shares, which like between 2000 and 2022, there were 19 different tight ends that had a 15% target share or greater, and only 6 of those players finished as top 12 tight ends. So it's like, even if you're earning the ball at a decent rate, you've still kind of got to make something out of that. Even touchdowns alone haven't been the secret sauce for tight ends. Like in that period of like 22 years that I'm talking about, and I'm excluding the years after it because that's where we get to the Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers years. But in that period, 12 different tight ends scored 5 or more touchdowns in their rookie season, and only 2 of them finished as top 12 options. So it really does take a lot for rookie tight ends to hit. But I really like Colson Loveland. I really like Tyler Warren. And I think, if it doesn't work out, then in a year's time, we'll be sat here and I can quite happily say that I completely whiffed on it. I'm not getting drawn in on this one. Taylor Shuck, Rashid Shaheed, Ray Davis, Trey Harris, Rashad Bateman, Tank Bigsby, Tyler Algier, Roshan Johnson, all sitting on the clock. Let's add Trey Harris for a little Chargers stack with Justin Herbert. Like, not blowing away anyone with the reports so far out of training camp, but we're building that wide receiver room for later on in the season, and we can definitely cope with that. So through 14 rounds, we've got Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, Baker Mayfield stacked with Rashad White, Justin Herbert stacked with Trey Harris, Sam Laporta, Bryce Young, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, Jordan Mason, Najee Harris, Bishal Tune, Rashad White, Trey Harris. Feels fun. Definitely not the kind of build that I've done a lot of over the last couple of years, but one which has some legs, has some potential. Yeah, exactly that. Like as a wide receiver 5, completely okay with it. It felt like perhaps early on in draft season, people were getting a little bit ahead and trying to push him up a little too high. And right now is the time where I'm happy to take the dips. We see this every year. Post-draft, the rookies go really highly. Mini camps, OTAs happen. Coaches start to say, well, he's still a rookie. He's still got stuff to learn. He still needs to do this. He still needs to do that. Such and such as a veteran. And the price comes down on all the rookies, well, the vast majority of the rookies. And we kind of get that buying opportunity where it's like, right, well, everybody else paid a higher price. Maybe I should just be saying, okay, let's take that opportunity. Now, obviously, you don't want to do that too heavily, or you want to be selective when you're doing it. You don't want to be taking the guys like, I'm not looking at Devin Neal with the Saints just adding Cam Akers and going, oh yeah, that's a great sign. Any interest in Gadsden in this format as a stat with Herbert? Or is that too deep for this format? No, absolutely. We're going to see some real dart throw tight ends go off the board by the time we get to those last couple of rounds. Guys who might potentially not see the field at all. So very much okay with taking correlated stacks. I think I'd be hard pushed to want more than 3 tight ends on this build when we invested so much in it. In terms of how that's played out over the last few years, for teams that have gone this way and have taken tight end 2 before round 6, generally the strongest results have still been 3 and 4 tight end builds. So it's not been a strategy that's prohibitive to spending more capital, but I definitely wouldn't be going as high as 5. So one more pick away. Tyler Shook continues to fall past ADP. His ADP was 129th, and you can see we are flying past that range now. But it's Tyler Shook, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I'm all right. Completely passing on him. Tank Bigsby, Roshan Johnson, Kyle Williams, Jack Besh, Chigo Okonkwo, Wandale Robinson, Jarquez Hunter. So we've got the 4 running backs. We've got 5 wide receivers. Let's take another running back and just try and add a little bit more balance there. Tank Bigsby, Roshan Johnson, Jarquez Hunter, Marshawn Lloyd are the guys at the top here. I don't want to be taking Tank because I don't feel like him and Tootin are necessarily a pairing I'd love. So it kind of comes down to Roshan Johnson, Jarquez Hunter, or Marshawn Lloyd. And I'm going to go with Roshan Johnson. I think that Roshan Johnson out of them has a slightly clearer path than Marshawn Lloyd to a lot of playing time. I'm not a DeAndre Swift fan. Like, look, if you've watched a lot of Fantasy Sanctuary content, we haven't been DeAndre Swift fans for a while. One of our best videos last year in terms of view count was a video of myself and Rich flaming DeAndre Swift, and the comments on that one are truly hilarious to go back and look at. After 2-3 weeks, people are all over us telling us what an insanely terrible take there that we had before myself and Rich start nibbling back, going, oh, really? As DeAndre Swift, as ever, starts to fade away. And then DeAndre Swift had a little resurgence late in the season, and then all the boo boys came back again. So I just think that DeAndre Swift, even though he seems the clear option at the minute, it's not crazy to imagine things are going to shake out slightly different. You know, there will be roster cuts. There will be veterans who get cut. There'll be veterans made available for very cheap trades that if the Bears want to go out and get one, they could. So I like if Dameon Pierce ended up on the Bears after being cut by the Texans, if they cut him, or if they made him available for like a conditional 6th rounder, where does Dameon Pierce fit into that rotation? I'm kind of comfortable saying that I think Roshan Johnson has a chance for a nice goal line role regardless. And if he could end up becoming the kind of Jamal Williams of this backfield for Ben Johnson, I would be plenty happy with that 15th round. So we've got in the draft with us, EPB at the 8th slot, also got hammering the running backs late. Started with kind of Devin Achan in the 2nd round, Alvin Kamara, but otherwise ignoring the running back position down until the 10th round, and then got Javonte Jaden Blues taking the 2 Cowboys running backs. I think that's kind of fine. I'm a little wary of 3-headed running back rooms, which is why Tootin and Tank didn't appeal as much, but Tootin and Tank, it also just feels like the slightly lower ceiling plays. Whereas Jaden Blue, he's got a little bit of electricity to him. So 1 pick away, Kyle Williams, Jack Besh, Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, Quentin Johnson, Dylan Sampson, Shedeur Sanders, Will Shipley, Theo Johnson, Josh Palmer. I mean, that might be true, but it also just might be true that they're comfortable waiting. Adam Thielen would work here as a stack for Bryce Young, as would Xavier Legette. I'm going to take Adam Thielen and just play the volume game in this full PPR. So now we're sitting at 6 wide receivers total. Definitely looking to add more than maybe one more wide receiver. At very most, just 7 wide receivers kind of feels ample here. Like, we don't need to go overboard. And that's been a consistently solid tactic on here. 8.7% win rate versus 8.3% average last year, 8.8 the year before, 8.8 in 2022, 6.8 in 2021. So let's not be having a 2021 year. But unless something really falls value-wise, I'll be fine. I'm going to let you guys argue about DeAndre Swift in the comments. I have spent enough time in the comments arguing about DeAndre Swift in my lifetime. So our guy Jack sitting at number 2 with Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, Aaron Rodgers as quarterbacks, Amon-Ra, Drake London, Marvin Harrison, Zay Flowers, and then hit the running backs with Johnson, Charbonnet, Tracy Stevenson, Rico, Will Shipley, 3 tight end room with Travis Kelce, K. Dotton, and Dalton Schultz. That feels fun. I mean, you're definitely banking on Travis Kelce to be a bit of a volume hog again. Otherwise, you might end up with 3 guys who are just very touchdown reliant. But where Jack got those guys feels nice enough. We are 2 picks away. Jack Besh continues to fall. Now's kind of the time to take advantage. If you're a Jack Besh believer, I mean, what are we saying? Richie can play inside, outside, whereas Thornton's more of just a pure outside threat, isn't he? I don't know. Not really in on either. I think it's Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, and Genty, and that's it. The clock comes back to us. We probably do need another tight end. There will be tight ends on the next pick. Running backs, it's a little bit grim. You're looking at Blake Corum, Jerome Ford, Miles Sanders, Zach Moss. Let's push that one. Nothing's feeling fun here. Let's take our final wide receiver then, and we'll go Quentin Johnston for another Chargers stack. Like, look, I get the thing with Quentin Johnston. Me and Colm argued about it quite a lot last year, and I didn't want to take him. I thought he didn't have any upside, and then he went out and just caught a ton of touchdowns on broken plays. Like, yeah, that's potentially not sustainable, but if he's still going to be out there, and Jim Harbaugh seems to really like Quentin Johnston, and I don't think anything counts as much when it comes to the Chargers as how Jim Harbaugh feels about you. Rich saying, think Besh is a 26 hope rather than 2025, given Bowers and Mears. Thornton, the spike week dart throw, given a dart and set the red zone. That feels fair. Mac, you saying that? Oh, yeah, for my team, yeah, I think that kind of would be where I'm landing, a 3-7-7-3, and just be a bit balanced with it. There's not enough at running back or tight end to kind of make me feel that I really need to take massive swings on either. So, at this point, with the running back room, Jordan Mason, Najee Harris, Bashal Tootin, Rashad White, and Roshan Johnson, take 2 more running backs maybe, and then a tight end, and leave it there. I think that we could be pretty happy with that one. I don't think that there's anything wrong with doing balanced builds. Obviously, on the Underdog show on Monday night, we had Rob Coakley on from Spike Week, and he talked about how he thinks a lot of people build balanced builds just for safety's sake, and it ends up looking a bit miserable. But he also talked about how there's a right way to do that at the same time. 3-7-7-3 on this contest last year had a win rate of 8.2%, so just below average. But the top 2 percentile of all teams, they were at 2.2%, so they represented well enough. 2.4% the previous year with a win rate of 9.1%. Previous year, win rate of 8.3%. Previous year, we don't have any data on that one. So, like, there's enough reason to think it could be fine. Yeah, man. Like, if Justin Herbert goes out there, stays injury-free, which is quite a big statement for Justin Herbert at this point in his career, the man just loves getting banged up, then there's definitely potential there. Yeah. Mac, which contest are you drafting in later? Is it the 125 or is it the Superflex? So when this comes back around, obviously we've made it kind of clear that we're looking at running back or tight ends. Harry, appreciate you checking us out. Make sure you hit that like button whilst you're here, my man. Yes, we had a great time on Saturday in Manchester. I think there was about good amount of us. We were able to run some live drafts. The first ever Fantasy Sanctuary social meetup. Had a great bar with a really great space. We had some money behind the bar, which seemed to disappear very quickly, which kind of tells you how the afternoon played out. The Fantasy Sanctuary quiz, hosted by myself, and largely made up of questions about fantasy football, but including how many people survived the Titanic, where did I go to school, which flag football team did Rich play for. We threw some renegade stuff in there, and out of 25 answers, I think Tarek won it with 6 correct answers. So yes, we had a lot of fun. No, when I'm saying balanced, I just mean balanced in terms of roster construction. I don't mean in terms of how I've approached where I've spent my draft allocation. Back on the clock, and then I'll come back to the chat in a second. We've got Blake Corum falling a little bit. That's probably the best that we're going to get out of running back room. There is Jerome Ford, Miles Sanders, Zach Moss, Devin Neal, Kendry Miller, Raheem Mostert, Woody Marks. We'll save another running back pick for some more dart throw territory and take Blake Corum there. What if he actually contributes this year? Max saying the big gorilla on FFPC stream. So nice, yeah. So that's the $350 redraft contest, which used to be known as the Fantasy Pros Championship, used to be known as the Football Guys Championship. Man, I love that contest. I'll definitely be going back. In fact, what have we got? Yes, right next to me. Got my league champion medal from last year. It's just such a fun format, the way that it's got the all play week in the middle, where all teams are basically just going into whichever 6 teams score the most get a win that week. I think the way it's structured over 12 weeks for within the league, and then you play your championships there before moving on to the points total sprint is fantastic. Like, I really, really think it's probably about the most fun way to play redraft that's out there. So yeah, I'll definitely be going back to that. Myself and Andrew Erickson streamed one as well last year on the Fantasy Pros Best Ball show. I know we're supposed to be doing at least a couple of FFPC drafts in the coming weeks, but it's not been confirmed yet. Yeah, so good. I haven't looked too much at it yet for this year, but it seemed like the early bird offers on the Gorilla stuff were going down quite well. People seem to really enjoy the little tweaks they've made to freshen it up. I'll say it's a shame for me as a Fantasy Pros writer that they don't have that relationship, because I used to get half price entry, which was very, very fun. But hey, can't have everything every year. So a couple more picks away. We mentioned that this feels like a 3-7-7-3. So the tight ends that are here are Tyler Higbee, Noah Gray, Tyler Conklin, Ben Sinnott, Noah Fant, Rhonda Gadsden, Will Disley, Michael Mayer, Luke Musgrave, Dawson Knox. Luke Musgrave really fallen out of favor this year. Josh Weil, the Tennessee rookie, Gunnar Helm, the Tennessee rookie, Luke Shoemaker, Foster Moreau. Rob Gronkowski with an ADP higher than some guys who will actually play football this year. Eric Hall, a guy who definitely won't play football this year, is there. So there's not huge amounts. I mean, Dawson Knox would probably feel okay as a third option if we were to jam it in. Running back position, Miles Sanders, Zach Moss, Kendrick Miller, Woody Marks, Jordan James, Julio McLaughlin, Elijah Mitchell, Sean Tucker, Trevor Etienne, Ty Johnson, AJ Dillon, Isaiah Davis, Audric Estime, and then real dart throws after that. Just a quick glance at the board. Taj Brooks, that's who I was looking for to see if he's gone, but he is. Yeah, pick your favorite Chargers tie-in, Conklin, Disley, Gadsden. Con goes immediately. I'd be okay with Gadsden here. I mean, I know Rich liked him. I know our guy Matt Thornton came on to the channel and did a show on sleepers and picked him out as his favorite tight-end sleeper. And Matt famously hit on Puka Nacua in a massive way a couple of years ago. So I'm going to trust anyone. Rich, Matt, those are guys that I can lean towards. So with one pick left, let's just recap this team. Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, Sam Laporta, Bryce Young, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, Javon Jennings, Jordan Mason, Najee Harris, Baishal Tuin, Rashad White, Trey Harris, Roshan Johnson, Adam Thielen, Quentin Johnston, Blake Corum, and Aronde Gadsden. It's a fun team. I got no qualms with this one. It's a little bit of a weird build in terms of how I would normally approach this team. And there's the odd point where you could say, if I hadn't taken Bryce Young and if I'd taken Ted McMillan, would I have been happy? Or if I'd taken Kenneth Walker as my RB1, those were the two choices of what I was going back and forth, Kenneth Walker or Ted McMillan. And then look to a quarterback in this kind of range and push running back a little bit further. Maybe instead of getting Jordan Mason, if I'd ended up with, Daniel Jones as my QB3, then I probably would have ended up in a 4 QB build and needed to add an extra quarterback pick in this range. But the running back would have been a little more shored up. So if I'd gone wide receiver, then I think I probably would have kept running backs kind of where I have them, but ended up still with 4 quarterbacks again. I wouldn't have had Aaron Rodgers on the way back round. He's not somebody I'm particularly keen on picking up a lot, unless I've got DK Metcalf, or in this format, maybe Pat Frymouth, and saying that that's really going to hit. But yeah, in general, feel okay about it. And I like doing this at this time of year where, you just push the boundaries of the structure a little bit more. Yeah, man. I mean, like, what are we doing? Yeah, that's something I probably don't do enough, is outweigh the wide receivers and go heavier at running back. And it's probably a weakness of mine when it comes to best ball from years of playing DraftKings and co-drafting a lot of stuff on Underdog, where the wide receiver position is more valuable. And here there's a bit more parity, particularly in this format where you've just got 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, and your starting lineup and the flexes. So you can say there is parity. And obviously, if you've given the draft capital early to wide receiver, then perhaps it would be a better idea. So, yeah, I definitely, maybe next time we'll fly one of those out. So the last pick I'm going to make, it's a guy that I like in PPR more than anywhere else, but it's Ty Johnson. Like, Ty Johnson had a nice enough role in big moments last year. The James Cook situation's lingering, and although I expect James Cook to be on the field when the games start and when they actually matter, it wouldn't be surprising if he performed poorly. Like, how many running backs have we seen have these contract disputes, and it just doesn't really work well for them. So I'm kind of happy to say that Ray Davis is a nice value, but also Ty Johnson's a nice value if we're saying that. Like, if late on in the year James Cook starts feeling something in his leg and he isn't really pushing as much to play as he might have normally done, then Ty Johnson could be a nice value. Definitely see him on the field plenty. So that rounds out the team. Running backs, we ended up with none before round 10, and then a running back room with Jordan Mason, Najee Harris, Bajal Tutin, Rashad White, Roshan Johnson, Blake Corum, Ty Johnson. So Jordan Mason, Najee Harris, Rashad White are definitely where we're going to have to hope that the volume comes from. Tutin, Corum, Ty Johnson, much more upside swings, but I think that there's enough there that will be okay. The strength of this team is going to rest on Brock Bowers and Sam Laporta. The team that I had on the FFPC Championship last year that did really well was a Trey McBride, Brock Bowers team. And it's just so powerful in this format. Obviously, last year it was cheaper to acquire that. But I'm happy enough that I didn't pass on Sam Laporta and then ended up scrabbling around for tight ends in this range where you got Tyler Warren, Hunter Henry, Dallas Goedert, guys who will be more touchdown dependent than volume dependent. The wide receiver room of Malik Neighbors, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings is really strong. And then the guys we added after that, Trey Harris, Adam Thielen, and Quentin Johnson, were all stacked options. So the argument felt fine. That's the week 17 stack that everybody is going to need. Exactly. You've got Devonta Smith just ripping off 80-yard touchdowns downfield, and then the Bills playing pass heavy, throwing the ball constantly to Ty Johnson to get themselves back into the game. Love it. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. These streams, they go long with the 60-second clocks, but we'll be back on the 6th of July, Sunday, 6th of July, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. UK for our next Fantasy Sanctuary FFPC Superflex draft. We'll be looking into the 125s and try to schedule them over the coming weeks. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know which guests you want to see on these FFPC shows. There's plenty of guys out there who love them, and I want to make sure that you guys are getting what you want from it. Appreciate everybody hanging out tonight. Paul, Mac, good luck in the draft you got later on tonight. On Real Time, Harry, Rich, everybody's been here tonight. This was great fun, and we'll be back again very